Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Today is Thanksgiving Day, and it is our way of saying thanks to our great composers of Carnatic music. And I have with me today Dr. Kanniks. You have heard him before, and before we get into what we are going to talk about, let's welcome Dr. Kanniks. Dr. Kanniks, namaskaram and welcome to PGurus channel.
Thank you so much for having me here, and happy Thanksgiving to you.
So, Dr. Kanniks, you have just come out with a new, I don't know if it's a song or an album. I think it is something like, I don't know, you have to tell me what exactly it is, because it is a unique composition, Sri Vaidyanathan Bhajeham, and it is in Ekavimshati, which you explained to me that means 21. So, I don't want to kind of guess something and get something wrong here. So I'm going to let you walk through what this composition is, and viewers, you will get to listen to this composition in its entirety after this conversation. So over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Sri. Thank you for having me here. And first of all, this is a very auspicious season. Now, this is the Kartik Mas, or Kartikai as we call it in Tamil. And this is the last few days leading up to the full moon. The culmination of this Paksha is the full moon, which is celebrated like nothing else in a place called Tiruvannamalai in southern India. But Tiruvannamalai is the Agni Sthalam, referring to the manifestation of Shiva in the form of a column of fire whose origins are indecipherable. So Tiruvannamalai happens to be the place where my father was born. My grandfather lived. My grandfather was associated with Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharishi also. And I've not been to Tiruvannamalai too many times, but I was there in 1997, I think, for the Deepam festival. And my God, it's an unbelievable experience. So what they do is they go to the top of the hill and light a lamp, which is seen for miles around. And close to like 10 lakh people, that is about 1 million people, congregate there just to watch this occasion. It's something huge, something spectacular, how they manage the crowds and how this tradition has been sustaining for hundreds of years. So it's just amazing and mind-blowing. So I wanted to convey the greetings for this season to everyone before we start. This composition is called the Ekavimshati Ragamalika. So Ekavimshati refers to the number 21. So this is a Ragamalika, a composition in 21 ragas. That's a simple definition of this composition. So to sing it completely without much embellishment, it takes about 20 minutes. 21 minutes.
Wonderful starting point for me to kind of explore and start discussing this. So I had the opportunity or the good fortune of listening to it. So you start off with the Sri Ragam. Now, just mota, meaning like 20,000 foot level. If I look at this composition, it reminds me of a composition. I don't know who wrote it, but it was popularized by Maharajapuram Santanam. It starts with Saranga. So as the word comes, the Ragam comes and he sings it in a rag, and then he goes to the next line that's in a different Ragam. He sings it in that Ragam, and so on. And that song finishes in about 9 minutes. So in this, when I heard this for the first time, Dr. Kanniks, I was reminded of that because it had a very similar, but it is a little bit much more than that. I know it is much more than that because I could hear the the other things that you have put into this. So we'll come to that in just 1 second. What my question to you first one is that I saw that the first line is in Sri Ragam. Sri is in Carnatic music, and it says Raganga 22. Perhaps before we jump into this whole thing, maybe you can explain to our viewers what is the number 22 and what is Raganga. And viewers, if you want to understand a little bit about Carnatic music, origins of Hindustani music and all that, I think the first episode of mine on PGurus with Dr. Kannikeshwaran talks about all that. I'm again trying to take us a little bit more into this music, and then we'll come back to the song. So please take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. So the human mind always tries to classify anything and group anything. So ragas, many attempts have been made in history to classify ragas. So about 300 years ago, there was this amazing musicologist by name Venkatamaki, who envisaged a scheme of 72 ragangas. Angas, basically 72 families or groups of ragas, with which every single raga in existence could be explained. So the first one is called Kanakambari, and the last one is called Rasa Manjari. So his grandson Muddu Venkatamaki is the one that came up with the names. And this is the original scheme of classification. So number 22 here is referred to as Sri. And this is different from a later scheme of ragas which came into being in southern India called the Melakarta Ragas. So the Melakarta Ragas and the Raganga Ragas like this do not exist in the scheme of mainstream, what we refer to as Hindustani music as such. So there was a Pandit professor, there was another amazing musicologist by name Bhatkande, who lived about 100 years ago, who formulated a system of thoughts, or again, families of ragas to explain the structures of ragas in Hindustani music. So that is a general explanation going in just to explain the number 22. This 22 has nothing to do with the 21. So
yes.
yeah.
So again, before we dwell into this song, I'm sorry to kind of take you out from there and back and forth.
Yeah.
I want our viewers to not just listen to this, but to also get a little bit about music. So if you take a look at Western classical, right? So they call each octave, they divide it as 12 tones, 12 tone systems. You know, there's a software called 12 tone software or something like that. I remember that. Now, how is that different from Carnatic music, which I think is similar to Hindustani? I don't think there's much difference between the two. I think the 72 number, how was that derived? Karan, can you just kind of help us through that part?
Yeah. 72. So the way it works is that I'll keep this simple so we can quickly move on to the Ragamalika. So an octave, sa, pa, sa. Basically, when I double my frequency from this sa to this sa, that's the range of tones. If I play them on the piano, I'm going to look at 12 steps. Okay, so it's like sa, re, re, ga, ga, ma, ma, pa, dha, da, ni, ni, sa. So in the Raganga system, what we do is we recognize pairs of re's and ga's. So where I can have a sa, re, re, re. Then I have three ga's. Sa, ga, ga, ga. So if I look at it, if I break it down into pairs, I can have a sa, re, ga, sa, re, ga, sa, re, ga, then sa, re, ga, sa, re, ga, then sa, re, ga. So I have like 6 pairs there. Similarly, I have 6 pairs of das and knees. So 6 times 6 is 36. And then I have 2 mas. 36 times 2 is 72. That's it. Khatam.
Wonderful. So basically what you're saying is that some of the notes have, they are in threes instead of twos in the Western classical system.
Yeah, it's like we care only about the relationships, not about the absolute frequencies here. So that is why we are able to come up with 6 combinations here and 6 combinations here, and 6 times 6 is 36, times 2 is 72, all of them.
Wonderful. So now let's get back to our main topic, sir. So you start out by with the Sri Ragam, but you had a concept in mind when you came up with the number 21. Could you please walk us through that thought process?
Actually, that's a great question. I think I told you why I came up with the number 21. See, initially when the whole COVID thing started, the mind was filled with ways to, how do we deal with this? We have to appeal to the inner healer within. We have to figure out a way of healing the entire universe. So how do you do it? So you pray, so you reach out to the source of it all, and we conceive of the source in the form of the divine healer, Shiva, as Vaidyanatham, who is enshrined, who is worshipped in a place called Vaidiswaran Koil near Mayiladuthurai. And this is a place that is associated with healing, and with a lot of history and significance, and a lot of references in the Puranas, and a lot of references in the Tamil Devaram and all that. So I thought of creating a composition that would invoke Vaidyanatham. Then suddenly, when I was following the news, it was announced that there would be like a 21-day lockdown in India. So sitting here, I think what went through my mind was, why don't we create something significant, like maybe a Raga a day or something like that would cover the entire 21-day range. So I started writing one weekend, and before I realized it, what I started writing took it occurred to me, why don't, instead of making 21 songs, why don't I make one song in 21 ragams? So that was the primary inspiration behind the whole thing. So a 21-day initial lockdown inspired the creation of a 21 Ragamalika. And then I decided to set it in the word Ekavimshati kept stuck in my mind, and say Ekavimshati 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. So the natural cycle to fit it in was a 7-week cycle, right? And then so that's how it started. And then dedicating it to Sri Vaidyanatha, I'll go into the choice of the ragas in a little bit. So
Sure.
I wrote 4 verses, which would constitute the first section of the composition. It's called the Pallavi. And then in the Anupallavi, I decided to continue to describe Shiva in the form of the 5 Panchabhuta Kshetras, which are located at Chidambaram, Kanchipuram, Sri Kalahasti, then Trichy, which is called Jambukeshwaram, and then finally Tiruvannamalai. So 4 plus 5 is 9. And 20, so that constituted the first 2 sections of the Ragamalika. And 21 minus 9 is 12.
I think I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
yeah. So the 12, without any hesitation, they fell on the 12 jyotirlingas of Shiva.
Yes.
Yeah. So in one shot, we cover the 12 jyotirlingas, the 5 Panchabhuta Kshetras, and the Sri Vaidyanatha temple. About the jyotirlingas Kshetras, much is known all over India, right? Because of the Dwadasha Jyotirlinga Stotra, which was written by Adi Shankara. And Adi Shankara's visited all these 12, and these 12 kind of constitute the sacred geography of India, all the way from Kedarnath in the Himalayas to Rameswaram in southern India, to Saurashtra, Somnath in western India, to Banaras in eastern India and northeastern India, and so on and so forth. It covers a wide gamut of places. And the Panchabhuta Kshetras are also known to a lot of people from southern India. But the Vaidishwaran temple, maybe not too many people know about it, and it's important that we all know about it and acknowledge the existence of this temple. And I'll explain that in just a little bit. So that is how this thing took shape, and I finished it within a week. All I had to do was start writing, and before I realized I'd finished it. So that is how the whole thing came into being. And then I recorded it in my own voice and left it at that. And then after a while, I said, okay, I need to teach to people. So I started teaching it to my students. Then my cousin and her son, who are based in the UK, they were learning from me on Skype or on the phone. So they learned it from me, and they said, okay, why don't we record it together? So we recorded it together and made a video, and then shared it during my IIT Madras Navaratri concert. So, and that's when I shared this with you. And now this is an auspicious time to release it out to the world, given the Kartik Mass, which is going on right now. So that's a long-winded explanation.
No, that's a wonderful explanation. And I have one question for you.
Yeah.
You wrote this thing in Sanskrit, and the intent for that, I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that it should be appreciated, understood by everybody, because it's the root of the languages. That's where all the new current languages came from. So is that it, or is there something beyond that, sir?
It is a pan-Indian, the theme has a pan-Indian appeal. So it has to be in the language that can be related to in all musical forms and in all parts of India. Like Somnath is in Gujarat. Okay, Rameswaram is in Tamil Nadu, and Kedarnath is in Uttarakhand, and some are in Sri Shailam is in Andhra Pradesh. So when you reach out to all these places, the names of the deities and the mythology, I hate to use the word mythology, and the
Itihasas,
the Itihasas, and also the Sthala Puranas, they are all relatable in terminology that is consistent with the religious vocabulary which is followed all over India. That's the reason I decided to stick to it. Plus, another reason is this Kriti follows a model which which was set by Muthuswami Dikshitar. So the thing is, the much of my work is inspired by the work of Muthuswami Dikshitar. Muthuswami Dikshitar wrote a phenomenal work called the Ragamalika, and Chaturdasha refers to the number 14. Okay, and that song is an 8-beat cycle consistent with the 4. Okay, and then it also starts in the with Sri Ragam, and it's titled Sri Vishwanatham Bhajeham. Okay, so it has 2 ragas in the Pallavi, 4 in the Anupallavi. So 2 plus 4 is 6, and then 4 doubles to become 8 in the charaNam. So 2 plus 4 plus 6 is 2 plus 4 plus 8 is 14. So that is a 14 Ragamalika. So this model is similar to that. It is 4 plus 5 plus 12, which is 21. And the interesting thing is, I'll explain this again. At the end of the Pallavi, I progress from Raga 1 through 4, and I come back with different words in all the 4 ragas. At the end of the Anupallavi, I progress up to the 9th raga, and I come back with a different set of words covering all the 9 ragas in reverse sequence. But at the end of the composition, I come in the reverse order of all the 21 ragas. So it is pretty exciting to learn and sing it, and especially if you imagine these thalas and the descriptions and the narratives that unfold before your eyes and all this. And also another thing that I stuck to was the Dikshitar model. Make sure that the name of the raga is recorded either explicitly or with some kind of an indication. So I did the same thing in all the 21 ragas with the exception of number 2, and I will explain that as we get into that also.
Wonderful. And see, the whole song was also written by you. So this is actually conceived, written, composed, and directed by you. And it's just incredible. I'm seeing some. I know you had a lot of dimensions to you, Dr. Kanniks, but I'm seeing some new dimensions here. I'm just completely blown away, and I really hope that your fountain of inspiration continues to flow on ebb.
Hey, thank you so much, Sri. That means a lot.
So let's go into a little bit more into the details. Now,
sure.
So you said that you go from 1 to 4. Why don't you just kind of touch upon the first 4, and then you just mentioned how you go back and then forth. So let's let's do this thing quickly, and then of course the viewers will be able to see the entire video after this conversation finishes. We wanted to kind of set you or whet your appetite to listening to what has been done. In my opinion, it's an incredible work because not much of this type of work has come in the recent past. Thank you, sir. Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you. So the first raga is Shri. Shri is an auspicious raga, and in the Venkatamaki scheme of raga classification, this is raganga number 22. So let's not get into the 22 business right now, but the first thing, it's just like the Sri Vishwanatham Ragamalika. It starts with Sri Vaidyanatha bhajeham Ekavimshati Ragamalika bhushanam sada Shivam anisham. So first line is I worship Sri Vaidyanatha, and the second line I say I worship him who wears the Ragamala of 21 ragas. So that is all I say in the first raga. Then I transition into the second raga. See, now here's the thing, Sri Iyer. The first raga is Sri. The second raga is also Sri. Okay, but the second Sri is from Hindustani music, from the Hindustani music tradition. In the Carnatic music tradition, it is Sari ma pa ni sa ni pa ma re ga re sa. In the Hindustani music tradition, it's Sare ma pa ni sa ni re ni ma re pa re ga re sa. It's a beautiful raga. It's called Sri. Okay, so you are named after 2 ragas.
Thank you.
So here I go. Balambikesham. Vaidyanatha is the consort of Sri Balambika, who is the Devi enshrined in Vaidishwaran temple. Ameyam Aparam. He's beyond anything else. Aparam. And also notice this. Apa, it falls on the note Pa. This concept is called a swaraksharam. When the text, it's called text painting in Western music, where the text and the swara are the same. Aparam. The next line is Bala Guru Guha. Guru Guha refers to Dikshitar. Muttu Bala Guru Guha Muttu Kumara. Muttu Kumara Swami is the name of the deity. Murugan, Skanda, enshrined in Vaidyanatha temple. And the story goes that Dikshitar himself is regarded as an incarnation of. He was named after Muthukumara because Ramaswamy Dikshitar and his mother, both of them, they spent a good chunk of time in Vaidyanatha temple, and they prayed to Vaidyanatha for an offspring, and Dikshitar was born soon after this visit. So it was by the grace of this deity that Dikshitar was even conceptualized, let's say. So, Adnala Bala Guru Guha Muthukumara Gurum, the father of Murugan, Anadyam Aparam. Gurum Anadyam, he is without a beginning, Aparam again. So, Sri and Sri. Then the third raga is called Shantam Suratna Haratharam. Kujarchitam tam. Kuja is Angaraka. So it is believed that Angaraka offered worship to Shiva there at Vaidyanatha temple, and there's a shrine to Angaraka in that temple. It's one of the very few temples with a significant shrine to Angaraka, and it's a place that people go and offer worship in case when they feel that they have to acknowledge certain aspects of Angaraka in their birth chart and all that. I mean, that's a different conversation altogether. So Shantam Suratna Haradharam. He wears a Ratna Har. So now look at the play of words here. Suratna becomes Surat. And Surat here stands for a raga called Surati. Shantam Suratna Haradharam. Then next line is Suravaram Neelam Bharadaram. So that is Raga Surati. And the fourth one is Ramachandra Shadana Archita Vedamaya Kshetre Vasantam. So Ramachandra is Bhagavan Sri Ram. Shadanana is Murugan, who is said to have worshipped Shiva there. And it's also said that the Vedas themselves offered worship to Shiva. So, Vedamaya Kshetre Vasantam, the name of the raga is Vasanta. Then, Kama Krodha Rahita, Kama Krodha Guna Rahita, Parishuddha Hridnilaye Vasantam. Okay, so now the thing is, Vaidyanatha temple is a place where it is called Pul Irukku Velur in Tamil. It's a very ancient name. It's about 1500 years old. So Pul refers to Jatayu. So it is believed in the Puranas that Jatayu offered worship to Shiva in Vaidyanatha temple. Irukku refers to Rig Veda. Vel refers to Skanda. And Ur refers to the sun, Surya. So all these entities or all these pramukhas in their own way have offered worship to Shiva here. So in the next few lines where we come back in reverse sequence covering all these ragas. Ravi Jatayu Kujadi Vinutam. Ravi Surya Jatayu Kujadi Vinutam. So we covered Kuja, we covered Vedamaya Kshetre, we covered everything. So everything that's associated with the Sthala Puranas in Sanskrit and in Tamil have been covered in these lyrics. Ravi Jatayu Kujadi Vinutam Mangala Mandahasavadanam. Mangala refers to Angaraka. And there's a kriti by Muthuswami Dikshitar in the raga Surati in praise of Angaraka. So that's the reason I chose that raga. Then Bhava Bhaya Harana Vaidishwaram. That's raga Sri again. Parataramatula Parameshwaram Sri Vaidyanatha. So just this, so far we've covered only the Pallavi in 4 ragas in the ascending sequence and in the descending sequence. So that is how this composition begins.
It's just amazing how much of thought you have put into this, because you have an amazing amount of symmetry also in this. I have a question. When you choose to transition from one rag to the other one, what goes through your mind as to how you go from one to the other? Are there any set metrics that you look for, or how do you do that?
Actually, that's a great question. See, because not all ragas allow for a smooth transition, right? But if you, you've seen, as a child, we all have been to circuses in India, right? You see the trapeze artists, when they go, there'll be about 4 or 5 trapezes on the ceiling. They'll be swinging back and forth, and they'll be either in a straight position or in an upside down position. When the right opportunity comes, they grab the right hook and go to the right place. So, Anala, if you grab the right hook, it'll not sound discordant at all. And if it sounds discordant to me, I will not be able to sing it. So, in general, finding the Ravi Jatayu Kujadi Vinutam, it ends in Sa, then Mangala, it's a natural flow. Mandahasavadanam, then Sa, Bhava Bhaya, Harana Vaidishwaram, then Parataramatula Parameswaram Sri. So it flows naturally, and sometimes, I mean, you have to attribute it to grace the way it comes. So sometimes you don't even think it planned these; it just flows the way it does. So
let's move on to Anupallavi, Dr. Kanniks.
Mm.
I know in Karnataka or in Hindustani, you say Mukhda and Antara.
Yeah.
What is the name for Anupallavi? I don't know what that is.
In Hindustani music, you typically have 2 section compositions. So they're called Sthai and Antara, basically, in the classical paradigm. And in the film music paradigm, we use the word Mukhda and Antara. So Mukhda and Sthai are the same. But in older days, we used to have 4 sections in Hindustani music also. So Sthai, Antara, Sanchari, and Abhog. So the combination of the Sanchari and the Abhog together constitute what we would call a charaNam.
I see.
Roughly equivalently. The Antara would be the Anupallavi.
I see.
And many of Dikshitar's compositions have only a Pallavi and the Anupallavi, just like the Sai Antara structure in Hindustani music. So that could be because of the exposure that Dikshitar had to a different tradition. See, whereas with Tyagaraja, the structure was more like Pallavi, Anupallavi, and always a charanam, and sometimes multiple charanams also. Many charanams with the same tune. Dikshitar never did anything like that. Although even his father had compositions with the Pallavi, Anupallavi, and multiple charanams, but Dikshitar did not do that at all. So
let's get to the Anupallavi portion, sir. This is fascinating.
Yeah, thank you. So Anupallavi, in the Anupallavi, so we move from Vaidishwaran Kovil, just going a little more, we come a little north to Chidambaram from Vaidishwaran Kovil. So I remember visiting Chidambaram from Vaidishwaran Kovil back in 1974. In those days, we used to travel by bus for the most part. I still remember taking a bus from Vaidishwaran Kovil and proceeding to Chidambaram. I was like 12 years old or something like that, and seeing the temple towers from a distance. And you can never do that now because there's so much of high rises everywhere that you cannot see the temple towers from a distance anymore. And I remember being fascinated because you move from one town where the absolute landmark is the temple tower, the Rajagopuram, which is about 200 feet high, and then you go to another town that on the way you see a lot of villages where again you see these towering landmarks, all temple towers and all that. All those landmarks have kind of faded away because other things have taken their place. But Chidambaram is a magnificent place and magnificent temple. Enshrining Nataraja in the form of Akashaling. Okay, let me get into the Panchabhutas first. So Shiva is worshipped as a manifestation of each of the Panchabhutas, Panchabhuta Maya Prakasam, or however you call it. So the Prithvi shrine is in, let me now use the word shrine, the Prithvi Lingam is in Kanchipuram. The Vayu Lingam is in Sri Kalahasti. The Tejomaya Lingam is in Tiruvannamalai. The Apalingam is what denoting water is in Jambukeshwaram or Tiruvanekkaval, Tiru-Anekkaval. Ane is elephant in Tiruchirappalli. Okay, and the Akasha Lingam is in Chidambaram. Now, the beauty about Chidambaram is that Shiva is worshipped in the form of a dancer. And right next to it, there's a dark chamber where Shiva is worshipped. Yeah, where he is worshipped in the Arupa form. So that's what's called the Chidambara Rahasyam. So when you go to the Arupa shrine, everything is dark, and they they light camphor and illuminate the place, and all you see is a huge golden necklace of bilva leaves. So, so you look at the golden bilva leaves, but you also look at the space emptiness. So that is a form in which Shiva is worshipped. So Akasha Lingam. So that is what is referred to as the Chidambara Rahasyam. So the concept of nothingness, which constitutes the fifth element. So most cultures in the world deal only with four elements. Like Adama is earth in the Jewish tradition, Ruah is wind, Ma'im is water, Aish is fire. So these are the Hebrew words, the four elements in the Hebrew tradition. Then you have four elements in the Celtic tradition. The fifth one is there only in the Hindu tradition. And that these are acknowledged in Tamil as well as in Sanskrit, in all languages and all that stuff. But it is to be acknowledged that the Panchabhuta Maya temples are only in the Chola kingdom, basically. All these were in the Chola kingdom, all the way up to Sri Kalahasti, which is now in Andhra Pradesh. And well, of course, Kanchipuram is in the Tondai land, but much of the contributions to the Kanchipuram Shiva Ekavimshati temple came from the Vijayanagar kings. And again, all five of these temples had a lot of contribution from the Nayakas and also from the Vijayanagar rulers, which is a topic that we should go back to at some point in time, because the huge temple towers that you see from a distance, they were all built thanks to the vision of the rulers of Vijayanagar, the huge circumambulatory spaces and everything like that. So the Anupallavi explores the five of these temples. The first one is, and I've stuck to the ragas that Muthuswami Dikshitar has composed kritis on each one of these five sthalas. And I've stuck to the same, with the exception of one, I've stuck to the same ragas, like Sri Vaidyanatha Sahitam Kedaranatham. So he is also the Lord of Kedara, but he is seen along with the Mahavishnu, Sri Vaikuntadipa Sahitam. Because in the Chidambara temple, you also have a Sannidhi for Mahavishnu. Shiva faces the south, and when you stand in that Sannidhi, right in front of Nataraja, you can see the other Sannidhi, which is dedicated to Mahavishnu. It constitutes one of what is called the Vaishnava Divya Desam temples there also. And so when the Deepa Aradhana ends in one, it starts in the other. So it's an exhilarating feeling being there during the evening puja. So then the next raga is, the next thala in this composition is the Ekamreshwara in Kanchipuram, in the raga Bhairavi. Ekamranatham Prithvi Lingam Bhairavisham. Bhairavi is the name of the raga, and we refer to Kamakshi as Bhairavi. Yeah.
I must mention here that my mother's side father, my grandfather, maternal grandfather, he grew up, he was born in Agraharam. The street is adjacent to the Ekamreshwar temple. And I visited the house. I was very, very young. And it's a great feeling that our ancestors belong to this temple town of Kanchi. And when you mention Ekamreshwar temple, it's a beautiful temple, guys.
Oh my God.
You can spend a week in Kanchipuram just going through the temples. Just incredible. I'm sorry to cut your flow, sir, but since you started with Kanchi, and thanks once again for remembering it. So it's a great conversation that we are having here, viewers. So please continue, sir.
Okay. The next one is Sri Kalahasti. Now, Muthuswami Dikshitar has a composition on Sri Kalahasti in a raga called Usaini. But I chose to use the Raga Bhairavi again because I wanted to place two Bhairavis right next to each other. So I decided to use a Hindustani Bhairavi, which we refer to as Sindhu Bhairavi in Carnatic music. So Sri Kalahastishwaram Karuna Sindhu Bhairavisham Rahu Ketu Shani Budha Kuja Graha Gati Vihita Sri Bhairavisham. So Rahu Ketu Shani Buddha Kuja Graha Gati Vihita. So one who regulates the motion of the celestial bodies, particularly Rahu and Ketu, because this is a very great significance here, because it is during eclipses. Kalahasti is one of the few temples where puja is offered and the temple is not shut down, whereas all other temples are closed during the times of eclipses. So, and again, the two Bhairavis come right next to each other. So, the next one is in a raga called Yamuna Kalyani in praise of Jambukeshwara. Kalyana Vesham Sri Jambupatisham Kambu Kantya Kilandanayaki. The name of the Devi here is Akilandeshwari. Then the fifth ragam in the Anupallavi, Saranga Karadhritam Arunachalam Kaivalya Pradam. The one who grants moksha, because the story about Tiruvannamalai is that Smaranat Kaivalya Pradam. So when you think of Tiruvannamalai as you're about to die, you are granted moksha. So that is a tradition that is held with Tiruvannamalai. And like I said before, Kartikai Deepam is celebrated with millions of lamps, oil lamps. Shatakoti Deepa Prakasham Shashwatam Kaivalya Pradam. So that is a description of Tiruvannamalai. So now we are at the end of the 9th raga. Then all of them come back in reverse order to complete the Anupallavi.
So, Dr. Kanniks, so we are now 9 ragas. We have finished looking at the Pallavi and Anupallavi, and now we are going to look at the charaNam. And so you said that you picked 12 jyotirlingams, and how did you segue into that? Did you go geographically? How was the thought process there when you came up with the string of ragas that constitute the jyotirlingam parts? Please go ahead.
I'll do that. Yeah. See, for the Anupallavi, there was already a pattern in place for the ragas, which is already set by Muthuswami Dikshitar. But for these, there is no pattern like that in place. But the names themselves or the Sthala Puranas offer a clue as to what raga would work best for each of them. Like, for instance, the sequence I followed was that of the typical Dwadasha Jyotirlingas Stotras. So it starts with Saurashtre Somanatham Cha Sri Shaile Mallikarjunam, and all. That's how it starts. And many viewers should be familiar with that sloka. So I started with Saurashtra. So there's actually a Carnatic raga called Saurashtra. Saurashtra de Sri Somanatham Madanaharam Himamshu Mahitam. Himamshu is what? The moon. So Somanatha is where she was worshipped by Chandradeva. Sujana Vinutam Somanatham. The next one is Sri Shailam. So there's a raga called Shaila Desakshi, which is very rarely heard. Shailajapam Tachidananda Dvitiyam Mallikesham, because it's Mallikarjuna, right? So then the next line is Shankara Vidita Saundari Brahmarambikesham Mallikesham. So there's a lot of information packed in here. So Shankara here refers to Adi Shankara. Vidita is he perceived, he had a darshan of Brahmarambika here, and he praised her using the Saundarya Lahari. Shankara Vidita Saundari Brahmarambikesham Mallikesham. So that's how it goes. Okay. So the next one is Ujjain. Madhya Deshavantika Puresham Mahakalesham. Madhya Desha, it's Madhya Pradesh. Avantika is Ujjain. And the name of the raga is Madhyamavati. So you see the raga mudra also, just like in the previous one, you had Shaila Japam. Then the next one is Omkareshwar, which is also in Madhya Pradesh, on the banks of the river Narmada. And in the Venkatamaki tradition, we have a raga by name Narmada. Narmada Tirasthitam Omkaram Mamaleshwaram. Again, it's a very rarely heard raga, but it falls right in place here. Then the next one is Amaleshwaram Tripuraharanam Mudita Padanam. Then the next one is Charu Chandra Nibhananam Paresham Vaidyanatham. So this is Paralyam Vaidyanatham. So we refer to Shiva as Charu Chandra Nibha Ananam, so whose face is comparable to the sun and the moon. So Charu is the sun, and the Charu here stands for Charukesi. Paresham Vaidyanatham. Then the next one is Ananda Natana Prakasham Nagesham. So here we are talking about the cosmic dance of Shiva in the Dharukavana. Dharukavana Tapodana Dvaja Bhankam Yekam Nagesham. So the name of the raga is Ananda Bhairavi here. Then Pathanukulam Kiratam Kedaranatham. The name of the raga here is Kedar, and it stands for Shiva enshrined in Kedarnath. So, and the story goes that Arjuna offered worship to Shiva in Kedarnath. Parthanukulam Kiratam, then Parvati Parameshwaram Paramahamsam Kedaranatham. The next is Triambakeshwar, on the banks of the river Gautami. Gautami Tatanivasitam Gaurisham Trayambakam. So in all these places you find a lot of alliteration, like Gautami, Gauri, and Partha, Parameshwara, then Paramahamsa, and all that, the Pa occurring in that line. So the Sanskrit word to refer to alliteration is what's called prasam. So you have a lot of incidences of prasam and also swaraksharam, which is where Parvati. So the Pa, the swara falls on the text Pa. So on the body, there's a lot of such alankaras throughout this composition. Gautami tatanivasitam gaurisham trayambakam. Then the next line is very important. Ishvara jiva bhedarahitam avidyapahatrayambakam. The next one is we go to Rameshwaram. Manirangavalyaalankritam. This is raga called Manirangu, in which Muthuswami Dikshitar has created a composition called Mamava Pattabhirama. So this raga naturally fell in place here because we are talking about Rameshwaram, where the Ram Parivar offered worship to Shiva. Okay, Manirangavalyaalankritam Setu Bandhe Ramanatham. Then Anujasaha Dasharatha Tanaya Pujitam Anatham Ramanatham. So along with his brother, he offered worship there. So that is what the song says. Then Samantamaladharam. So Samanta is the name of a flower. So Samanta Maladharam. Bhima Shankaram. This is Bhima Shankar in Maharashtra. So this is raga number 10 in the charaNam, which is raga number 19 in the entire Ragamala sequence. So we have two more ragas left, which is 11. So the next jyotirlinga is Varanasi. So here is the lyrics get interesting here. Varanasyam Bhairavam So Bhairava, Shiva is enshrined also as in the form of Bhairav in Varanasi. So the entire city of Kashi, Varanasi, is Shiva's. It's a Shiva Bhumi basically. So Varanasyam Bhairavam Dhavalangam. He's covered with bhasma. Dhavalangam. Vishwanatham. Then he's worshipped by everyone. Sakala Mrigha Khaga. Muni Gana Sura Narendra Modita Vishwanatham. So I want to see if you catch the pun here. I'm going to sing it again. Sakala Mrigha Kaga Muni Gana Sura Narendra Modita Vishwanatham.
So Mr. Modi's constituency.
Yeah, but actually we don't see his name shows up in the lyrics thanks to the Sandhi.
Yes.
But it doesn't refer to any it referred see that is it is Varanasi, and Sakala Mriga Kaga, all animals and birds, all Jiva Rashis basically, Munigana, all the Munis, and Sura, all the people, good people, and Devas, and Nara, people actually, Sura, Nara, then Indra, the Lord of the Suras, Modita. So they all love Vishwanatham. So in the Sandhi, it becomes Narendra Modita Vishwanatham.
Yeah, so you cleverly put the syllabus together, and it makes up also the person who happens to be Narendra Modi. Amazing.
Totally. Thank you. It actually contextualizes it.
Right.
Yeah. Actually, in Muthuswami Dikshitar's compositions in the 14 Ragamalika, he acknowledges Vaidyalinga Bhupala Palanam. He refers to one of the rulers in one of the ragas in the 14 Ragamalika. So this coincidence, I was smiling at myself when I wrote it, and you'll catch me smiling in the recording when you listen to it. Then the next one is also an acknowledgement of somebody whom I regard very, very deeply, Yellapura Yoginam. So, Ahalyarchita Krishneshwaram. See, Ahalya here does not refer to Ahilya from the Ramayana. But I'd been to Ellora a couple of years ago. And then when we went to Ellora, we went to Krishneshwar, which is one of the Jyotirlinga temples. And there was a kund there. And it was called Ahilya Devi Kund. That's when I realized that Ahilya Bai Holkar, who has done phenomenal work in restoring and renovating temples all over India. So, she needs to be acknowledged and appreciated wherever possible, because it's an important aspect of Indian history, that the kind of restorative spirit that she had and the commitment she had to restoring temples such as these. So Yellapuram refers to Ellora. Yellapura Yoginam Ahalyarchita Krishneshwaram. So we acknowledge Ahalya by Holkar in that composition. So that completes all the 21. Now all the 21 ragas come in reverse sequence. I'm quickly going to sing through them, to some of them at least. Garaladhara Shiva Nila Kantham visha-aNu-rOga-vaidya nipuNam. This is Bhairav. This is the most important line. Visha-aNu-rOga-vaidya nipuNam. So visha-anu is virus. Roga is the viral disease that is going around. Vaidya nipuNam. So we refer to Shiva, the healer within, as the ultimate healer of any rogue which is caused by any virus or anything whatsoever. So we appeal to the healer within, we appeal to the universal healer in the form of Sri Vaidyanatha, and actually specifically call him out as visha-aNu-rOga-vaidya nipuNam. Then one by one, all these phrases come out. Then Analara Visashi Nayanam Arunam. Back to the 5 ragas in the Anupallavi. Then Ravi Jatayu Kujadi Vinotam. The 4 ragas in the Pallavi. So finally, all the 21 come in reverse sequence. In the video, you'll see the pictures of the temples as well. And finally, we go to Sri Vaidyanatha Bhajeham Bhaje. That's how we close it. So it's about 20 minutes in length. And I'm hoping if anybody wants to learn this if they're trained in Carnatic music, and if we can get a group of people together, I'm happy to teach this over Skype, and I would love to get a group of people sing this together, increase the number of times the certain lines are sung, so that the whole composition takes about 25 to 30 minutes to complete, and with good accompaniments and stuff like that, we should try to get it recorded and have it performed virtually or in real time somewhere. So that is one of my things which I'd love to see happen. So that's where I am now. So sorry, I must have overwhelmed you with a lot of information, but feel free to ask questions, Sri.
No, Dr. Kanniks, you're just incredible. That's all I can say. I mean, I'm running out of praises for you, because it's just see, when you were reciting all these things, I could pick up some of the ragams. I'm not that good at picking up. Plus, it also requires practice. You need to listen to the music all the time.
Definitely. Yeah.
Because a lot of swarabhedas, very quickly you can lose in this. I mean, when you said Maniranga, I was reminded of a song that Ilayaraja had done called Kavide Paadu Kuyile Kuyile. I think it is Maniranga. I could be wrong about that, but I was thinking, oh wow, there is some. Ilayaraja has not missed. He has done Suruti, Madhyamati, all those things. He has done lots of those things, and it's just amazing that you've taken us through this incredible journey where you're. We are through unprecedented times. We don't know how the future looks like. Next year, everybody thinks that now, vaccine is there, it's going to be fine. No. Well, when you start lifting the carpet a little bit and looking underneath, they're saying it's going to be a 2-phase vaccine. First time, what are they going to do? First, you are going to do something. Are you still alive? Come back, I'll give you the second one. I'm just making a fun. I'm sure it's not as bad as that, but there's some course correction that happened. They are looking at something. They're probably going to evaluate your condition and then say, okay, you're it's like A/B testing. You are A or you are B, and so on. So, but it doesn't take away the inspiration and the effort that you have put into the song. And it's my fervent hope that it doesn't just stay within the small community of people who sing Carnatic music or Hindustani music. It is something that needs to go much, much farther. I'm hoping that Kanniksji, that somebody comes along and says, okay, let's make this thing into a full concert opera kind of production, which is what you excel at. I'm still enjoying Shanti that you have done 2-3 years ago when we met, and that's how the friendship blossomed. So let's hope that something like that will happen, and it's my joy and pleasure to have you here today. This is something, it's a must-have. Not many people are going to be able to put together the amount of what you are trying to convey. You are conveying an incredible message. That message should reach as many people as possible. It's my fervent hope that everybody who watches this, please, play the whole thing. Let people watch the whole thing, because they are covering a lot of small things and the big things here. And I hope that people understand what the beauty of our music was, the culture. And this is the most important thing. Next time, we are in India, when we have time and normalcy returns, we should always look at, let me go to this Jyotirlinga temple, because it's only 50 kilometers from where I live. Let's do that. Let us try to start from there, and then automatically the rejuvenation and the revival will happen. And again, once again, Dr. Kanniks, thank you so much. You visited, you never let one trip to India go waste. You're doing so much in there. But if you would like to, say a few words in conclusion, then we can wind up this program. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to say that, first of all, this is not just about Carnatic music. This is not just about Hindustani music. It's about both, in the sense I refer to Indian music as Raga Vidya, which is beyond the regional borders, because I think what the multiple streams of India are attempting to convey is that deep spirit of oneness through the art form that is music. And secondly, it's not just about music alone. It's about a sacred geography which has been around for a long time. If Adi Shankara could walk on foot and visit each of the 12 jyotirlingas, there's no reason why, with all the transport facilities that we have, that we cannot visit at least some of these. And then music has the ability to tell stories. In the combination of the Sanskrit language, let's say, why just Sanskrit? Indian language. With Indian languages, you can do a lot of, you can convey a lot, because the paradigm is like that. It's like Sakalam Riga Kagas Muni Gana Sura Narendra Modita Vishwanatham. In one stroke, convey the Sthala Purana of that place, but at the same time, you're also able to make a reference to the Prime Minister. So by his name at the same time. And so in many, you can do things like this in many Indian languages. It's called Sledai in Tamil, Irattura Moridal. So you say two things at the same time. So so there is much to appreciate. It's the culture that is Bharatiya culture or Indian culture. It is something that is much bigger than all of us. And by living this composition, by going through this composition, you actually experience and you actually convey your vandana to something that is much bigger than all of us. And we hope and pray that something that is bigger than all of us will heal our spirits and our bodies and take the entire world into a much better era than what we are living through right now. So thank you so much for taking this to the world, because I can sit and compose at home. I can even make videos, but I cannot get them out. And I really, really appreciate your help in getting the word out. Thank you so much, Sri.
Absolutely. And viewers, towards the end, we lost the video portion of Dr. Kanniks, but his audio did come through fine. And Dr. Kanniks, we'll be back with more such interesting conversations. Thank you once again. And sir, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, that's all. That's all I had. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Namaskaram.
Namaskar.
Sri Vaidyanatha bhajeham bhajeham Sri Vaidyanatha bhajeham bhajeham Ekavimshati Ragamalika bhushanam sada Shivam Anisham Ekavimshati Ragamalika bhushanam sada Shivam Anisham Balami Kesham Ameyam Aparam Balami Kesham Ameyam Aparam Balaguru Muthuswami Dikshitar Aparam Balaguru Muthuswami Dikshitar Shantam Suratnahararam Kujachitam tam Shantam Suratnahararam Kujachitam tam Suravaram Nilambaradaram Smararam Kujachitam tam Suravaram Nilambaradaram Smararam Kujachitam tam Ramachandra Sharanachita Vedamaya Kshetre Vasantam Ramachandra Sharanachita Vedamaya Kshetre Vasantam Kama Krodha Gunarahita Parishuddha Nilaye Vasantam Kama Krodha Gunarahita Parishuddha Nilaye Vasantam Ravijatayu Kujani Vinutam Mangalamandahasa Vadanam Bhavabhaya Harana Vaidishwaram Paratamatula Parameshwaram Sri Vaidyanathan Bhajeham Bhajeham श्रीवैकुण्ठाधिपसहितं केदारनाथं श्रीवैकुण्ठाधिपसहितं केदारनाथं मदनजनकमहितनटेशं सरससदय हृदय सहेशं मदनजनकमहितनटेशं सरससदय हृदय सहेशं एकाम्रनाथं पृथ्वीलिङ्गं भैरवीशं एकाम्रनाथं पृथ्वीलिङ्गं भैरवीशं कनकमयकाञ्चीपुरीशं कामाक्षी भैरवीशं कनकमयकाञ्चीपुरीशं कामाक्षी भैरवीशं श्रीकाళहस्तीश्वरं करुणासिन्धुभैरवीशं श्रीकाళहस्तीश्वरं करुणासिन्धुभैरवीशं राहुकेतु शनि बुध कुजग्रहगतिविहित श्रीभैरवीशं राहुकेतु शनि बुध कुजग्रहगतिविहित श्रीभैरवीशं कल्याणवेषं श्रीजम्बोपकेशं कल्याणवेषं श्रीजम्बोपकेशं कम्बुकण्ट्यकिनान्दनायकि वारं श्रीजम्बूपतीशं कम्बुकण्ट्यकिनान्दनायकि वारं श्रीजम्बूपतीशं सारङ्गकरधृतं अरुणाचलं कैवल्यप्रदं सारङ्गकरधृतं अरुणाचलं कैवल्यप्रदं शतकोटिदीपप्रकाशं शाश्वतं कैवल्यप्रदं शतकोटिदीपप्रकाशं शाश्वतं कैवल्यप्रदम् आनलरतिशशिनयनमरुणं निरतिशयसुखदं निर्मलं वियतजलनिलमनलमीशं मृगधरम् अगणितगुणनिरतं शशिधरमकुटमचलममरं रविजटायुकुजादिविनोदं मङ्गलमन्दहासवदनं भवभयहरणवैदीश्वरं परतरमतुलपरमेश्वरं श्रीवैद्यनाथं भजेऽहं भजेऽहं श्रीवैद्यनाथं भजेऽहं भजेऽहम् एकविंशतिरागमाला भूषणं सदाशिवम् अनीशं सौराशदेशं श्री सोमनाथं देशं श्री सोमनाथं मदनहरं हिमांशुमहितं सुजनविनुतं सोमनाथं मदनहरं हिमांशुमहितं सुजनविनुतं सोमनाथं शैलजापं सच्चिदानन्दाद्वितीयं मल्लिकेशं शैलजापं सच्चिदानन्दाद्वितीयं मल्लिकेशं शङ्करविदित सौन्दर्ये भ्रमराम्बिकेशं मल्लिकेशं शङ्करविदित सौन्दर्ये भ्रमराम्बिकेशं मल्लिकेशं मध्यदेशावन्तिका पुरेशं महाकालेशं मध्यदेशावन्तिका पुरेशं महाकालेशं मुक्तिदायकमक्षरं संरक्षणं महाकालेशं मुक्तिदायकमक्षरं संरक्षणं महाकालेशं नर्मदातीरस्थितम् ओंकारं अमरेश्वरं नर्मदातीरस्थितम् ओंकारं अमरेश्वरं त्रिपुरारणं मुदितवदनं अभयकरममलेश्वरं त्रिपुरारणं मुदितवदनं अभयकरममलेश्वरं चारुचन्द्रनिभाननं परेशं वैद्यनाथं चारुचन्द्रनिभाननं परेशं वैद्यनाथं कमलचरणं मदनदहनं प्रसीद वैद्यनाथं कमलचरणं मदनदहनं प्रसीद वैद्यनाथं नन्दनटन प्रकाशं नागेशम् आनन्दनटन प्रकाशं नागेशं धारुकावनतपोधनध्वजभङ्गम् एकं नागेशं धारुकावनतपोधनध्वजभङ्गम् एकं नागेशं पार्थानुकूलं किरातं केदारनाथं पार्थानुकूलं किरातं केदारनाथं पार्वती परमेश्वरं परमहंसं केदारनाथं पार्वती परमेश्वरं परमहंसं केदारनाथं गौतमीतटनिवसितं गौरीशं त्रयम्बकं गौतमीतटनिवसितं गौरीशं त्रयम्बकम् ईश्वरजीव भेदरहितम् अविद्यानामन्तम् अविद्यापहत्रयम्बकम् ईश्वरजीव भेदरहितम् अविद्यापहं त्रयम्बकम् मणिरङ्गवल्यालङ्कृतं सेतुबन्धे रामनाथं मणिरङ्गवल्यालङ्कृतं सेतुबन्धे रामनाथम् अनुजसहदशरथतनय पूजितमनाथं रामनाथम् अनुजसहदशरथतनय पूजितमनाथं रामनाथं पामन्तमालाधरम् भीमशङ्करं सामन्तमालाधरम् भीमशङ्करं आमयहरं कोमलकरं डाकीश भीमशङ्करं आमयहरं कोमलकरं डाकीश भीमशङ्करं वारणास्यं भैरवं धवलाङ्गं विश्वनाथं वारणास्यं भैरवं धवलाङ्गं विश्वनाथं सकलमृगखगमुनिगणसुरनरेन्द्रमोदित विश्वनाथं सकलमृगखगमुनिगणसुरनरेन्द्रमोदित विश्वनाथं यल्लापुरयोगिनम् यल्लापुरयोगिनम् अहल्याचितकृष्णेश्वरं यल्लापुरयोगिनम् अहल्याचितकृष्णेश्वरं मौनिनं मुनिवरदं शिवं शङ्करं कृष्णेश्वरम् मौनिनं मुनिवरदं शिवं शङ्करं कृष्णेश्वरं गरलधर शिवनीलकण्ठं visha-aNu-rOga-vaidya भवतारणमघहरणमनरं दशमुखारियुतमहेश्वरं सूरगुरुमहितलिङ्गोद्भवं वृषभारूढगङ्गाधरं करधृतकुरङ्गं विटङ्गम् अतनुजितत्रिनयनं महेशं जलधरं विमलं मलहरम् अभयवरदं अमितफलदं रागाचन्द्रवदनमलम् एकानेकहृदयनिलयम् अनलरविशशिनयनमरुणं निरतिशयसुखदं निर्मलं वियतजलनिलमनलमीशं मृगधरमगणितगुणनिरतं शशिधरमकुटमचलमहरं रविजटायुकुजादिविनूतं मङ्गलमन्दहासवदनं भवभयहरण वैदीश्वरं परतरमतुलपरमेश्वरं श्री वैद्यनाथं Vaidyanatham Bhajeham Bhajeham Ekavimshati Ragamalika Bhushanam Sadashivam Anisham Sri Vaidyanatha Bhajeham Bhajeham